So I dance, and dance people like to get other people to move. So in a moment, I'm about to ask you a question, and if your answer to that question is yes, I'm going to ask that you stand up or raise an arm or a leg or an ear, whatever's available to you. Yes? Yes. We're ready? Yes. Okay, so here's my question. Have you ever used the phrase, it's a vibe? If your answer is yes, all right, take a second, look around the room, and y'all can have a seat again. Yeah, thank you for doing that with me. So almost everybody stood up, as I thought might be the case. If you are not familiar, a vibe is an all-encompassing, elusive, yet ever-present vibrational energetic force. So in my classes, when we're doing critical listening exercises, where I'm asking students to identify specific musical details, different layers of music, and the overall sort of feeling of a song, this is the answer that I usually get. It's a vibe. And that's true because everything is a vibe, right? Everything is made of energy. Everything emits an energetic frequency, right? Yes, I see some hands. Okay, yeah. Good. So the question then becomes, okay, but what vibe? And the purpose of this exercise is not so much to be able to find language, but to be in a practice of noticing, sensing, feeling the distinctions between different vibes so that, for example, in a dance class, we can explore how we relate ourselves, our bodies, our movements to that particular vibe. So I am excited to talk to you today about this relationality. But first, I want to take a moment to position myself in relation to this topic. I come to this by way of hip-hop culture, street dances, club dances, as a practitioner, a scholar of critical dance studies, and an educator in this realm. And while I have memories of rocking the Running Man, and the Roger Rabbit on the playground in elementary school, and I've been participating in hip-hop culture for over 30 years, I remain a guest in this culture. And as a cis, white, heterosexual woman in academia, I bring a lot of privilege to this work. The ideas that I'm talking about today are by no means mine alone. They are absolutely indebted to the Black and brown communities who have created and continue to create hip-hop culture. They are indebted to the epistemologies embedded within these African diasporic practices. They're indebted to all of the folks that I've danced with, trained with, learned from, been in conversations with. They're also indebted to the works of abolitionist, activists, and Black studies scholars. One of those scholars in African American history is Robin D.G. Kelley. And in his book, Freedom Dreams, The Black Radical Imagination, he writes, "The most radical art is not protest art, but works that take us to another place, envision a different way of seeing, perhaps a different way of feeling." And that is the premise that I would like to take into this talk with you all. That these ways of being and doing that can happen on the dance floor can help us to see, to feel, to be differently. Can we try something? Okay, great. I'm going to ask that you turn to a neighbor. They need to be close to you. Yes? You're going to take your own hands. You're going to rub them together. But you need to get, it's got to be fast. There's got to be some friction. You're going to turn to your neighbor. Without touching, you're going to bring your hands up like an inch away from their hands or like half an inch. And you're going to look them in the eyeballs. And you're just going to feel. So the vibe, though invisible, is viscerally real, just as vibrations cannot be seen by the naked eye, but their impact on material objects can be. So the vibe is simultaneously singular and collective. All of the individual elements with their own individual energetic vibrations come together to cohere into this collective vibe. So as I feed into the vibe also informs me, but then that shifts me, so then I show up differently to the vibe, but then the vibe has shifted, and then that vibe shows up. And so it's an ongoing process of being made and remade. It's never static. It is always in the state of becoming, and it is part of us just as we are part of it. We good? Okay. So, because I'm a dance person, I'm going to transition us from the noun vibe to the verb vibing, which is the practice of tuning into and attuning with the collective alignment of these energetic frequencies. This is the intention of hip-hop dance practices and more broadly African diasporic dance practices. It is about the tuning into, the attuning with, the aligning, the being in community. Really importantly though, this does not mean that we are not interested in your individuality. This maintains individuality. There's a collectivity that does not require or even request sameness. I want to see you show up as you with your unique style, your authentic self, your special juju. But it's not just about you. It is about you in relation to the music, the space you're in, the people you're moving with, and whatever else is informing that moment that you're in. Like, you could have the coolest trick, but that's neat. I want to know why you're doing that trick in this moment in relation to this part of this song with these people, with whatever we had going on here. We good? Okay, it got real quiet. Okay. So the question is, are you just kind of like, I want to do this move and I'm going to do it no matter what is happening, that's the thing that I want to do? Or are you allowing yourself to be moved by the music, to be moved by the people that you are dancing with? Are you exploring this special combination that only you can make between you and everything special that makes you, you, and this particular moment, this particular music, this particular space with all these particular people? That's the work. This requires understanding yourself as something larger than yourself. You have to be a part of something that is not just you, inherently. That music and the energy that we're creating together moves through and between us as connective tissue. Right? If I'm over here dancing to the same jam that you're over there dancing to, even if we're doing our own things, we are still tuning into the same vibe and becoming a part of it together. So, if we are creating this energy collectively together, and if my energy is an extension of me, and if your energy is an extension of you, where do we say that my energy, my being ends, and your energy, your being starts? So I'm making the claim that we are inherently, profoundly, intricately entangled with each other and the world around us. I'm proposing that radical togetherness is a way of being in and with the world that not only acknowledges these interconnections, but celebrates them, cares for them, nourishes them. This is not a new idea. Lots of African diasporic communities, indigenous communities have known this and lived this way for forever. The construction of the individual as completely solid and contained and violently fully separated from any other entities is a particularly white supremacist, capitalist, cis heteropatriarchal colonial project. By creating these separations, we can create categories. These categories allow us to make hierarchies that maintain structures of power. If, I don't have to recognize the structural and systemic oppression if I can just blame it on your personal, individual moral failure. But we don't have to buy into this fiction. We know that we don't exist alone, right? We're part of communities, we're part of a society, we all share the same world, right? My health is tied to your health, which if we didn't know, I think the pandemic made clear. My pollution pollutes the world that you live in. Climate change impacts how we can live. Even something as simple as my attitude can shift the mood that you were in when I came at you, right? So vibing is a way for us to engage in an existence as radical togetherness. There is no step-by-step how-to process for doing vibing. That doesn't make any sense, because if it has to be about you as your authentic you in relation to this particular moment and everything that it has going on, there can be no set way of doing it. But what we can do is make the choice to pay attention to those interconnections, to be open to being moved in alignment with what is around us, to start paying attention to them, looking for them, and caring about them. So the value of centering our relationality through care is what drives things like mutual aid, transformative justice, showing up as a co-conspirator in social justice work, abolitionist, decolonial, and inclusive pedagogies. This stuff absolutely informs how I teach. And I don't just mean because I'm teaching the hip hop dances in the studio, of course it does. But even if I'm teaching a theory class, even if that theory class isn't about dance, me just talking at you, is so weird. I don't do this, y'all. I want to be in conversation with you because your unique ideas, your unique perspective, your unique contributions to this conversation make the discussion of a subject matter so much more complete and interesting, right? I can also show up ready to shift my plans for the day when it turns out that world is happening and we're not okay and we need something else in the moment. That doesn't mean that we're disregarding the importance of the subject matter, but there are ways to see each other as whole people, to tune into what's happening in the space around us, and to allow that to adjust what we do accordingly. So what I'm saying is radical togetherness is not only possible, it's already practiced every day on the dance floor and off. So let's vibe. Thank you.